we're so glad Madam Fiona is here, so we'll start with her. And then thereafter, we'll ask Mouhamet Diop to follow, and then Jean-Robert, and then we'll close in the reverse order. So remember, we'll hear our panelists, then we'll hear the community, and then we'll go back to the panelists to close. If there's more time, we will continue similarly. So with this introduction, I'd like to welcome Madam Fiona Asonga to make her initial comments. Madam, you have the floor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hey guys, you've eaten lunch. Good afternoon. We're here to have a discussion, and we can't have a discussion when some people are sleeping. We need your total attention and participation. Thank you so much, Professor Nee, for the opportunity to be able to address this very critical area of our ecosystem. And my opening remarks, I'm going to ask with a lot of patience to the community that I be as candid as I can, because we have a saying in our culture, when you have a boil and it is ripe and has to be cleaned up, it's no longer a secret, It has to be dealt with. So I figure that we are in that kind of a situation right now, and we have to clean up. Why am I saying that? I say that because we are sitting down today to assess our ability to withstand difficulty within our institutions. I have been part of a FRISPA towards the end of a FRISPA. And it breaks my heart when I think of what happened to a FRISPA, and then I look at what is going on in Afrinic. But what are the things that are common across our ecosystem that are triggering this kind of reaction to our FSTAs, because we need to protect these institutions. They play a valuable role within our space. And I can tell you for free, in the absence of a FRISPA, we have felt, those of us who benefited from it have felt the absence of the institution. So why is the institution, where we are at now in terms of our institution? What are the things that we need to look at? Have we been able to develop the resilience that is required? I'll say no. We have not. Why not? Because we ourselves have been our own problem. When I say that, what do I mean? And I'm saying we, me being part of it, I'm not pointing a finger. We are part of the problem. Why are we part of the problem? Because instinctively, we have not taken time to address issues of transparency and accountability in the proper manner. And because of that lack of transparency and accountability, we have even gone ahead, and some of us have purported to use names of others, speaking on behalf of, instead of speaking for yourself as a part of the community, as a member of Afrinic, as a community member, we have spoken on behalf of, and I tend to think because of the results we have now, a lot of that on behalf of speaking was not what the actual entity might have intended. So we purported to represent and ended up misrepresenting. As a result of the misrepresentation, which for us, we were trusting, we trusted each other. We broke the trust. When you broke the trust, it became very difficult for us to come together to be able to quickly address issues as they were coming up. We have been on this journey. I'll talk of the Afrinic issue for like now a couple of years. Why couldn't we resolve it in the first year? Because we were still fighting each other. We forgot to address what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? We want to be able to keep a legacy for future generations of this continent. We cannot do that when I'm busy trying to strangle my father here. We need to get to a point where we are mature about how we address issues. And you'll allow me to also just throw in something. I think our tech space has got the most emotional men in society. You guys carry your emotions in your words. You want to fight. The emails are so aggressive, so inappropriate. that even those who want to comment and give good input cannot participate in the discussions. We need to have decorum in how we communicate and etiquette in how we respond to each other. If you have nothing of value to say, it would help for you to shut your mouth and keep quiet if you're not building somebody. Why? Because that's the only way we are going to cultivate the discipline of allowing even for transparency to happen. When there is always attack, people who have the truth will keep quiet with it. Why? Because if I say the truth, I'll be bashed. So we created a hostile environment. When we created the hostile environment, it becomes difficult for us to move forward, to account for anything, to be transparent, to work as a unit, to address the issues that are pertinent that need to be addressed. And when we are in that state, it's very difficult to solve an issue and to bounce back. We cannot even solve the problem we have because who's going to speak up? When you speak up, you're ostracized. You are considered, something is wrong with you. Why are you saying that? You cannot say that because of 1, 2, 3. But we need to be able to remember that every opinion matters. And because every opinion matters, those opinions that you do not like, you handle them with respect. You may think Professor Nee is old school, outdated. Look at him, he's gray and old. But he might have something very important to add to the conversation. Hear him out. I may be young, and for some people, make it worse, I'm a woman. In some cultures in Africa, women don't even talk. Women are not even recognized. We don't even have a word for a woman in those communities. So you can imagine I'm giving a view, and in your community, you don't even recognize a woman. You call her a child. What is this child saying? It doesn't matter how old the woman is, she's referred to as a child. We have brought our silent cultural views and issues into our conversations without realizing it. And because of that, when you take all the cultures on this continent, in African countries, I think there is no country in this continent that has only one tribe. We have up to 142 tribes in some countries. Now look at the culture of those tribes all coming to melt in our mailing lists, in our discussions, in our meetings. Where do we draw the line? We need to be able to honestly look at ourselves and know where we draw the line in this melting pot. Because where we are at right now, there is still hope. And I think that we need to be able to begin to have a reconciliatory tone in the way we engage. Let us create an environment where people can speak the truth and not be victimized, where we can get the facts and deal with the facts without victimizing the sources, and be able to address the issues that we are now facing head on, because that's the only way we'll address issues head on. And for me, I think I'll leave it at that, because those are things I want us to think about as we have the rest of the conversation. I have other more detailed responses for some of the questions you raised, Professor Nee, but I'll hold them for now. Thank you.
Let's clap for her. I will not comment as usual. I will not comment as usual, but let me tell you a story I recently watched on one of the social media platforms. It showed some deers or similar animals busy fighting, and they wouldn't even look around. And then suddenly a lion shows up and one of them was gone. So your story tells a bit of that caution, and we thank you very much for that. So yes, thank you. Next, I'd like to ask Mouhamet Diop to also weigh in. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Alaji. Do you hear me very well? I'm worrying a little bit because the IT is not working perfectly. So I just want to be sure that you hear me very well.
We can hear you very well.
Oh, thank you. So I think I'm hesitating to do my contribution in French, but I know that Alain gonna say me no. But I want to test if the translation is going well, and to have Fiona took her headset in order to listen to me. But let me do the exercise in English. I'm trying to do what I can on my best.
In French, it's okay.
I
in
think
French.
what Fiona has.
In translation.
Okay. Alaji don't need it because he's bilingual. He speaks French and English fluently.
For one, eh?
Okay, so let me take my 5 minutes. Okay, donc I'm going to switch in French and allow everybody to follow what I'm saying. Ce que Fiona vient de décrire, en fait, est une situation qu'on appelle un diagnostic de l'environnement. Je pense que la question qui nous interpelle aujourd'hui, une question d'obtenir beaucoup d'institutions africaines qui se sont créées, certaines ont disparu, d'autres continuent à vivre. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Pourquoi certaines entreprises ont disparu, certaines institutions? Je pense qu'il faut revenir à l'origine de ces initiatives. Vous savez, à la question de savoir qu'est-ce que vous a mandaté pour mettre en place ces institutions? Est-ce que vous avez été légitime à mettre en place ces institutions? Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait pour prévenir le risque de faillite, le risque de dislocation et le risque d'extinction de ces institutions? Je pense que c'est des questions légitimes que n'importe qui peut poser à la communauté AIS. À la première, il m'est très facile de répondre.
Are you alive?
Décider de mettre en place une institution pour discuter des questions Internet. Quand on a décidé de créer Afrinic parce qu'on ne nous donnait pas des blocs quand les ISP et les opérateurs de télécom en avaient besoin, personne ne nous avait mandaté pour mettre en place cette institution. Nous avons réagi en tant que des Africains, panafricanistes, venant de tous les pays africains. Et nous avons pris sur nous, civils, ensemble, ce que nous avons appelé un modèle qui a été répliqué un peu partout. Donc, je pense que la question de la légitimité ne se pose pas parce que nous sommes tous des volontaires au service de l'Afrique. C'est ce qui a amené à la création de AFTLD, c'est ce qui a amené à la création de AF Registrar, c'est ce qui a créé AFREN et toutes les institutions que nous avons actuellement qui constituent la panoplie des AF Star. Donc, vous avez joué votre partition, vous avez créé. On a essayé après de gérer ce qu'on appelle une transition institutionnelle. Une fois qu'une institution est mise en place, comment on fait pour la pérenniser? Et c'est à cette question que je pense que nous n'avons pas suffisamment travaillé. À cette question, on avait un début de solution. Prenez l'exemple de Afrinic. Quand on a démarré, certains pays se sont joints à cette initiative communautaire et ont joué le rôle. L'Afrique du Sud, les États comme l'Égypte, le Ghana, le Sénégal, tous ces pays se sont joints à l'initiative et ont proposé qu'il y ait des centres de formation francophones au Sénégal, anglophones au Ghana, arabophones en Égypte, et que le siège soit en Afrique du Sud ou en île Maurice. Donc, je pense que dans ce scénario d'institutionnalisation de nos institutions africaines pour l'Internet, c'est là où on n'a pas réussi à aller jusqu'au bout de la dynamique. Nous avons réussi à les créer, mais nous n'avons pas réussi à les protéger contre les risques de faillite, les risques d'attaque et tout ce qui s'ensuit. Et c'est face à ce constat que nous avons réfléchi. Et ce qui est en fait une force à la base, s'est retrouvé être une faiblesse au niveau de ces institutions. La force, c'est cet engagement communautaire, individuel. La faiblesse, c'est que nous n'avons pas réussi à embarquer les juristes, les financiers, les juristes pour nous protéger contre les problèmes. Parce qu'une institution, c'est comme une personne, elle a besoin de se protéger quand on l'attaque, ce qui est le cas pour Afrinic, pour d'autres. Qui nous a protégés? Personne. Quand on a voulu faire tomber ces institutions, quels étaient les juristes maison communautaires qui se sont joints dans cette bataille? On n'en a pas eu. Quand il a fallu faire ce qu'on appelle de la levée de fonds pour avoir des ressources suffisantes pour couvrir nos institutions, qui nous a backupé? Personne. Et donc, les deux leviers qui doivent permettre à une institution de pouvoir rester et de pouvoir vivre à travers la partie légale, donc juridique, et la partie financière en tant que fundraising, nous n'avons pas réussi à déclencher ces deux leviers qui étaient indispensables à la survie de nos institutions. Et donc, la question que nous nous sommes posée en tant que partenaires, en tant que personnes impliquées, c'est est-ce que c'est trop tard de réfléchir à un scénario qui permette à nos institutions d'avoir la couverture juridique, d'avoir le statut qu'il faut pour que la structure soit résiliente et d'avoir la couverture et le positionnement qui lui permettent d'être à l'abri des besoins financiers. Et je pense que sur ces deux questions, nous n'avons pas réellement su mettre toutes les cartes de notre côté. Fiona a posé sur la table la question de la transparence et de accountability, donc la redevabilité. Je pense que la question du leadership et du management ne s'est pas posée au départ pour ces structures. Mais la question de la résilience, la question du statut de nos institutions pose problème. Aujourd'hui, toutes les institutions qu'on peut citer qui aujourd'hui forment ce qu'on appelle les IF-STAR ont tous un problème de statut à long terme parce que les porteurs de projets, s'ils disparaissent, il y a un risque de disparition de ces projets. Et je pense que si nous voulons bâtir des institutions africaines qui soient protégées, la première chose, c'est de faire une décorrélation entre ceux qui ont créé ces institutions et leur statut de manière à les pérenniser. Et à cet exercice, nous n'avons pas réussi à nous départir de ceux qui ont créé ces institutions. Et ça, autant c'est une force, autant c'est une faiblesse sur le long terme, parce que les hommes disparaissent et les institutions doivent demeurer. Donc, je pense que nous avons essayé d'avoir un document de travail qui nous permet d'avoir ce qu'on appelle une guidance, en fait, un roadmap, une feuille de route pour essayer de dire quelles sont les actions prioritaires, minimales, sur lesquelles nous, Africains, aussi bien techniciens, initiateurs de ces initiatives, et également institutions épris de panafricanisme, qui doivent s'accorder sur quelles sont les actions critiques que nous devons mettre pour pouvoir s'en sortir. Allons-nous créer une infrastructure pour sur la synergie et que IF-STAR soit sous la couverture d'une macrostructure qui soit protégée, Ou allons-nous continuer à laisser les AF-stars continuer chacune de sa vie au point d'être exposée et de courir le risque de disparaître sans avoir le soutien des autres structures de l'écosystème. Donc voilà un peu la problématique qui s'est posée à nous en tant qu'acteurs. Nous devons rendre un hommage vibrant à toutes ces initiatives. C'est plus de 30 ans de sacrifice pour certains, plus de 20 ans de sacrifice pour d'autres. Qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire pour pérenniser et protéger les structures qui ont été créées? Et comment on peut faire en sorte de mutualiser nos ressources qui ne sont pas nombreuses, qui sont maigres, pour être capable de faire des actions qui ont un impact réel au niveau de la communauté et qu'on puisse mutualiser nos ressources. Donc voilà les questions que je pose sur la table et à la réflexion de savoir est-ce qu'un statut peut être donné, est-ce qu'un accord de siège peut être accordé à l'Afrique? Est-ce qu'un accord de siège peut être accordé à AFNOC? Est-ce qu'un accord de siège peut être accordé à AF Registrar? Est-ce qu'un accord de siège peut être africain à AFREN? Ou est-ce que chacun devra faire cet exercice individuellement? Ou est-ce qu'on pourra arriver à avoir un AF-star qui bénéficie d'un accord de siège dans l'un de nos 54 États en Afrique et pouvoir être protégé contre les attaques comme celles que l'Afrique a subies? Aucune de nos institutions AF-star ne peut survivre à l'attaque que l'Afrique a eue et qui est en train de mettre cette institution à genoux. Donc voilà, de manière très froide, poser sur la table les questions qui nous permettent de pouvoir s'attaquer au-delà du diagnostic. Parce que faire un diagnostic, c'est simple. Mais quelles sont les solutions qui s'offrent à nous? Elles ne sont pas nombreuses. Et il faut qu'on se mette d'accord qu'il y a des priorités. Et quand on dit priorité, il va falloir sacrifier un certain nombre de choses. Mais la question de la survie et de la pérennité de nos institutions est la priorité numéro 1 en termes de questionnement à toute la communauté AIS. Je vous remercie parce que c'est ouvrir le débat, poser les jalons de la discussion et appeler autour de la table les ressources dont on aura besoin pour traiter les questions diplomatiques, les questions juridiques et les questions de survie de nos institutions africaines. Je vous remercie.
Let's give him a round of applause. Notice that the concepts are quite complementary. One focus on our problems that cause the situation. One says, in addition, we should address the risks and also protect the institutions. So we're making progress. This is very good. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite Jean-Robert Hontome to also give his initial comments.
Thank you very much, Professor Nikweno, for the opportunity to say a few comments at this time when a critical service organization in the African Union Digital Transformation Strategy and Nation Cybersecurity is under threat. And I think that you all agree with me that we cannot mitigate a critical service provider that human life depend on, because that is what Afrinic is for us in the community, in the ecosystem, like a mere business. Previous speakers have said a couple of things, and also we've heard a couple of comments from the discussions that happened yesterday. From that, I would like to draw a few things without repeating all that was already said. One of the things that comes in my mind is the need to establish mechanisms for challenge in adversity time that involve the founding fathers, the pioneers, but also strategic community members in remedy misalignment that have arisen. Fiona mentioned a few of them. Another things that comes also in my mind, and also from hearing from you, Prof, yesterday, is that in the initial plans, there were check and balance. Alain also talk about a few things this morning. I think that there is still need to have those check and balance that were in the initial plan fully implemented. But to complement the discussion, I would like to draw our attention to 3 areas. Mouhamet also talked about a few of them. So I would like to look at the leadership of our organization, the stakeholders, how we form partnership, and our risk management strategy that enable us to be change ready and to find opportunities in terms of adversity. So talking about the leadership, visionary people build community, working together, resolving challenges, trusting one another with clear communication and no hiding agenda. We must ensure that our leadership act with control and foresight while putting in place what Mouhamet briefly mentioned, legal and organizational frameworks that enable lawful resiliency and change implementation at time of challenge. That cannot happen without the founding fathers, the founders, but also key community members. And I think Mouhamet even talked about this morning, calling back the retired into action to help work together with the community to find remedies that are congruent with the organization purpose and value. Frequent risk assessment is indeed needed, but we need to also include in our reflection, and I think that has been missing. Again, Mouhamet pointed out financial stuff, legal stuff also. We need to include in our horizon scanning some identification of risk that may have arise while promoting a transparency culture that allow all of us to be able to talk together and implement the lessons learned. The second point that I want to raise also very quickly is about partnership and networking, what I will call balancing goals and aspiration of various stakeholders. Again, here comes the ability to engage in transparency principle, to leverage the community interconnectedness and lean on each other's strength. That will allow us to open up discussion that breaks silos, but also to build clear outline stakeholder plan that lean on strength and network of each stakeholders that are participating in the community, and also enable us to develop options for key critical resources. And the third things that I would like to touch on very quickly in terms of risk management and change readiness are 2 things. The unity of purpose, what I call the unity of purpose, and the ability to be proactive. So again, comes the need to establish a culture around the organization that are partnering to find constructing approach that are anchored in the foundation principle. The second point is to build a multi-stakeholder role plan with risk identification and management around 2 things. The ability to identify critical resources, the interdependencies and the consequences of business disruption, and develop contingency plan. And in addition, being inclusive in conducting the implementation scenarios that we may have found, and also putting in place together, leaning on each other, a resource mobilization plan that will allow us to learn from previous experience, from the diagnostic, and that will also engage not only the stakeholders that are involved, and today we are very lucky to have now government having more and more interest in the AirStar, but also being able to respond to those various stakeholders that are engaging expectation and attitude. So I would like to stop there. And then I have more things that I will be able to add on depending on the question and comment that are coming from the community. Thank you.
Very much. Let's give him a round of applause. As you notice, he's also added the human component to our equation. And so we factor that in as well. I'm going to now open, maybe not for 20 minutes because we're running out of time, but I'll open up for comments and questions. But please, this time, don't look back at the problems. Anything you raise, you should be telling me about the solutions. I'll be very happy if you can do that. So the mic should be open. Yes? Okay, then bring him in. Yeah, let him come in. Yeah, to say a few words. Yeah.
So Pierre, please.
Hello.
Wait, Pierre, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just waiting in the boarding room here. I have only 5 minutes, and wanted to really to thank our colleagues. I think now we know almost what is our issue. We should now concentrate on the solutions, as Dr. Teni was saying. One of the things I believe is that after this AIS, we might need to put in place a working group that is cross, generational, because I see also that is an issue of, different generations. There were generations that were keen on, volunteering, understood the vision, they've had a vision, a strategy. But we need to hear from other sources. The leaders have done what they could have done. It was the mission, I would say. It seems that we are now getting into a mission, maybe another type of mission. So I would say let's put in place a working group. We kind of say multi-stakeholder, but not just about the IT professionals, that we make sure that we broaden the scope and be talking with those who are not really in that field, but can really assess. Because hearing Mouhamet and the rest, we see that, okay, lawyers were quite necessary for us. But in fact, institutional building is not so simple. So if you could have this sort of group to work out, concrete solutions, and that will also help us evolve. Thanks. That's what I wanted to share. And so sorry, I have to kind of leave quickly to get to know for personal or family matters. And thank you.
Thank you very much. In spite of the family problems, you continue to sacrifice, even on the road you are talking to us. We really appreciate that. So thank you. I think the floor is open. I'd like to hear comments from others. Mike, please just give us a comment.
Thank you so much, and welcome all to South Africa. It's a pleasure having you here. I'm not sure what else to add, because I think Fiona's analysis was spot on. I think the impassioned pleas that have come from several other colleagues is spot on. I think part of our problem is that we have not admitted that AFRINIC is an iterative organization, and we should have iterated sooner rather than later instead of waiting. And we should have been fixing as we go along instead of waiting for collapse. But all I can hope is that people want to work together, because it's obviously in the interests of some organizations and some commercial interests to break AFRINIC down. We know who they are, but unfortunately, we didn't do enough as a community to protect this organization because of our own infightings, because of our own weaknesses, because of our own petty politics. We've allowed the organization to be brittle enough that it's capable of being destroyed in this manner.
Thank you. Well, I would like to add something to what the one who talk about human aspects. When creating an institution, at the beginning, everything is perfect because they were needed. When running it, you definitely encounter problems. That's why we are here now for evaluation and take it to resilience level. In this community, what I've noticed is we have two kind of individuals. One group, the good ones, may God take care of them. But the second one, we know that this is not good, but we'll still do it. We embark on deceptive and destructive agenda. So these kind of people, what should we do to them? How should we handle them? Because if we were sincere with ourselves, this institution we have, we can still run them and we not run into problems. So I believe that we need to look at the human aspects. Thank you.
Okay. Your solution is address the human issue. Yes, can I hear some more? Please help me. Okay. Please go ahead. En français.
OK. À travers les interventions des uns et des autres, surtout des panélistes, nous avons compris qu'actuellement, il y a une prise de conscience en ce qui concerne les différents problèmes que nos institutions vont rencontrer ou qui rencontrent déjà. Il y a déjà une prise de conscience qui est là. C'est déjà une bonne chose déjà. Maintenant, en termes de solutions, je pense que tous ici, nous sommes unanimes que AFRINIC seul, par exemple, ne pourra pas s'en sortir. Il faut une conjugaison d'efforts. Et en termes de propositions, moi, je souhaiterais que peut-être qu'on fasse une implication côté étatique même, puisque c'est une institution africaine, côté étatique, que chaque État prenne à bras le corps ce problème. Pourquoi même pas ne pas aller jusqu'à l'Union africaine pour demander en fait une intervention de cette institution? Parce que cette institution n'est pas là uniquement pour les aspects politiques seulement. Elle peut intervenir dans les aspects de gouvernance, Internet et autres. Elle a ce volet-là aussi. Donc, je pense que tous ensemble, il faut qu'on conjugue nos efforts parce que actuellement, il existe d'autres institutions. Dans le cas d'AFRINIC, nous n'avons pas pris conscience. C'est maintenant que nous voyons l'importance de l'institution pour nous. Donc, il n'est pas tard. Peut-être pour les autres institutions, c'est de prendre des mesures, quitte à les protéger. Comme l'a dit en fait le panéliste Diop. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Thank you. But please, before you go, can you tell us your name and affiliation so we...
Mon nom c'est Somé Pengene du Burkina Faso.
Thank you very much. Oh, you've come from a long way. Yeah. He's my neighbor up north. Yeah. Yes, please. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Kone Bakino Karim. I'm from Burkina Faso. I will speak in French if you agree. Alors, au regard de tout ce qui a été dit par rapport à AFRINIC et les différentes difficultés rencontrées par AFRINIC, il y a vraiment beaucoup de questions à se poser. Monsieur Diop a très bien fait un exposé qui éclaire les lanternes des uns et des autres. Madame Fiona également a parlé de quelque chose de très important. Il s'agit de la transparence. Aujourd'hui, la question de la transparence est très importante pour toutes les institutions africaines qui sont en place ou qui sont en train de se mettre en place. Donc, c'est un élément sur lequel vraiment il faut que toutes les institutions qui existent puissent vraiment être très regardants pour que ce qui arrive aujourd'hui à Afrinic n'arrive pas à une autre institution africaine. Alors, j'ai une question par rapport à EF-Star. EF-Star est en train de se mettre en place, si je peux le dire ainsi. Alors, est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, EF-Star a été enregistré? Si EF-Star n'a pas été enregistré, pourquoi? Et est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, EF-Star a la légalité de pouvoir coordonner les activités des différents EF? Je parle de Afren, Afrinic, AFPIF, Afren, ainsi de suite. Merci beaucoup.
All right, I can answer some, but not now. I'll wait for my colleagues to do that. Anymore, I guess we are running out of time, so I will turn back to, yes, Lucky, sorry, I almost excluded.
Thanks, Prof. I think having listened to the colleagues and our child, you refer to yourself, I don't recognize you as a child, you know. You have been this powerful entity or person in our midst. You've always contributed positively. It's unfortunate there's a stereotype we live with on the continent. Nonetheless, I think one of the most difficult asks that we are going to be asking is for us as a community to unite. You see, one of the biggest challenges is when you are a parent and you have children, is to try to make your children to like each other, is to try to make your children have a common vision and follow certain norms and values that we have set for them. And that is a big ask that we are asking from all of us as a community. What is clear is that we have multiple groups that have formed themselves with different interests. Now we have to put in the center of these multiple groups a common value, a common goal that we have to work towards. This is the first thing that we need to be doing. We must regroup under one common agenda. And I think in dismantling these groups, we have weeds within the grass. Now, when you have in the beautiful lawn, green grass, or your beautiful field of maize or corn, then you have a lot of weed. That weed is surely going to destroy the crops that you have. And that is the thing that we need to be doing. We need to weed out all the bad elements, point them out. Probably we won't send them to an island or arrest them, whether it is in St. Helena or Robben Island, they're too good for them. We need to convert them. We need to change them. There must be some evangelism that will be taking place. And really, we cannot, as a collective, work against the African agenda. I don't know what else needs to be said and how strongly these things need to be said for them to be understood. If you are in Africa and you see yourself as an Africa and you cannot work on an African agenda, then you don't belong to us. You are not part of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll proceed to get closing comments, but we said we'll do it in the reverse order. So I believe, Jean-Robert, can you cut it down to 2-3 minutes? If you can, it's difficult, but try.
Yeah, no, I thank you, Prof. Yeah, no, I think that with our elder Lucky, who just made a comment, he highlight few points and summarize also a couple of things that have already said. Something that came into my mind when he was talking also is that, you know, we've seen challenges within our field in coordinating different states and countries' agenda in terms of cybersecurity and putting people together to share information. One of the things that made it successful, or at least that give us the ability to come to the stage of bringing different countries together to share information and to work together, is that we end up agreeing on some norms of responsible entity behavior and responsible person involved in building those platforms or those mechanisms that we were looking at for the goal that we were pursuing. And I think that that's also an idea that we can pursue. In addition to drafting then those norms and etc., we came up with also a couple of set of rules that every participating entity, but also every single person involved in that community has to follow for the success of the community so that trust prevails. Those are a couple of reflection ideas. So I think that if we go into the path that Pierre Dangino suggested in building a team or, I don't know, a working group that must come up with some set of plan, those are some ideas that we can inject into the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we give the next person is Mohammed Alaji. Are you online?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think it's always interesting to see that after we all agree on the diagnostic, we still have a problem to agree on the roadmap and where to start with, because we have tons and thousands of problems. The unity one is the one. The community interest is another one. The different group is another one. But we need at least to challenge ourselves and see if we want to make things happen. We have two major challenges. The first one is the time. The second one is the resources. When I talk the resources, it means human resources, financial resources, and individual commitment resources in terms of engagement. And I think that this is really where we need to really think a little bit. I mean, changing things take time, especially in Africa. And we know that really trying to fix problem for institution can take decades. So what I'm saying here is IES is the only place where collectively we talk and try to find out solution. Because nobody give us any legitimacy, because we are African. We don't need any mandate to find out solution. And I think that did one answer one of the questions. Are we legal to proceed for finding solution for Africa? We are all legal. We are Africans. We belong to the continent as individual, as institution, or as organization. We don't need any mandate. We haven't need any mandate in the past to set up this community. We're not looking for any mandate to continue to work in order to make Africa survive and maintain our institution. So the right question is how we can onboard other institutions who are not concerned by this fight because they are not aware of. It is exactly a question of awareness. They are not aware of how critical we need to fight together in order to maintain this institution working properly. And I doubt that if
we can't hear you.
the question to our individual, but the what role they're playing, I guess you might have surprise. So the question is onboarding other institutions into the fight of trying to make a framework that will allow our institution to be recognized internationally at the continental levels first and internationally, and have a house where they can be protected. This is really the starting point that we need to talk with our all government and African institution to start with. I think that if we agree upon defining the next step will be very easy. But the first step, and I think that that question has been raised by our colleague from Burkina Faso, if iStar need to have a status, is that going to be a local status or seen as a company registered in Ghana or as an African institution that have what we call an agreement with a state or international organization to exist? We have never sought out that question. And if we don't start there, I think that anything that we're going to build on top will be very fragile and can fall down anytime. That's really the reasoning why I'm inviting you to go in, is to agree upon the initial status of trying to sort out the process, not the whole process, but where we're going to start. And this is really the most critical point, according to me. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you. And Madam Fiona, you have the last word.
Thank you. Now, Mouhamet has raised some issues that I think I would want to address. Where do we start? As he was talking, I was looking at this room and seeing how many people are in this room that have always journeyed with Afrinic and are keen and passionate about making sure that it continues to function and to operate. A lot of the noisemakers are not here. We need to be able to do what Mzee Waboma, as I call him, Lucky, has proposed, being able to weed out those that are not interested in protecting the region and bring something for the continent. And everyone else who wants to do something, because we have different views, let's find a way of coming together so that we can address it together. Then there's multifaceted approaches I think we need to look at. For starters, Afrinic has its bylaws that the rest of us are all following. When you have an errant child who decides, Daddy, I don't care about, and to live in your house, but I don't care about your rules, and I'm going to take you to the court outside. How do you deal with that child? Food for thought. So then, knowing that that is what it is, we have no option, but we must collaborate with our governments through a government-friendly organization. Why? Because we also have to make sure that when the governments come to help us through this, they allow the multi-stakeholder approach to continue, and we can still continue to achieve what was initially set for Afrinic to be run by the community. And that means that some of us may have to take back seats in some roles and give the governments the permission to deal with the government of Mauritius. Because if the government of Mauritius had sent the issues back to our bylaws, we wouldn't be where we are now, but this is what it is. So then we would be able to sort out the issue with our bylaws. And that means then we will have a long journey of cleaning up those bylaws so that they are right, so that they are the nuts and the loopholes and everything in it is cleaned up. We have a lot of work to do to clean up those bylaws, but let the community have the ownership of the organization to which they had previously had ownership. So there's a journey that is going to require different roles, the government, the community, and then we have got partners who have a role in playing to ensure that this system of RRIs work, and we should not forget about them. We should be able to tap into them to come in and give guidance in some areas so that we are able to move forward. So Pierre's proposal of having a working group would be a good way forward, bearing in mind that the courts have given us 6 months for there to be a new board. If we are to be able to work, it has to be working within us less than 6 months, because we don't know when and how the receiver manager is going to want to go through the election. But we know that being part of the community, we expect the receiver manager, if they can hear me, you will allow the community to be part of the election process. We need to plan with the restrictions that we have been given, but we need a strategic team to be able to come in playing different roles. Let's have the government to government engagements and see what comes out of that. Let's have the community engagements with a focus of forgetting the past. Here, I have to tell everybody, please bite the bullet. If you are shot, we are very sorry. You got shot. Maybe you're shot in your arm, in your leg, in your butt, in your chest. We are sorry the bullets hit you, as we're trying to figure out our footing and everyone trying to give their views. Can we forgive each other and move forward? And that is my appeal. Can we let go of whatever the past has been and think in terms of going forward and unite and work together as a community to clear this mess? Because I believe if we agree as a community and we can say, okay, we want to start on a clean slate, we've made these mistakes, these are learning points now, what do we need to do moving forward to tighten and do the things right? And that's right from the way we set up the institution from the beginning. So there's a lot that we need to clean, and we need to be able to take on the ability to forgive, to work. We've got a lot of lawyers in our community who can help us. We've got a lot of policy experts who can help us. We've got technical guys. We've got everything we need within our midst. Even right now, we want to say volunteers we will get. And making sure that we've got representation across the board. Franco speakers, Anglo speakers, Portuguese, Arabic, let's have a balance. Let us make sure that we're not leaving any region behind. Let us put aside, there's a lot that has gone round in terms of information, facts, fictions, whatever. Can we forgive? And if you cannot find in yourself the ability to forgive, because human is to error, there is nobody who is perfect, then you're in the wrong camp. We start by weeding you out first. So please, if you cannot be reconciliatory, if you cannot reach out in the spirit of goodwill, go and have a self-reflection period. When you're ready, we will accommodate you. Because we have to be firm in that approach to be able to get this done in less than 3 months, if possible, having a clear strategy on how we want to do this. Even if it is a roadmap will be good, because the roadmap will help us know this is what we need to do. For this and this to be adjusted, this is what needs done. There is a lot of input on the different cases. We need the legal teams within the community, lawyers, volunteering, working and agreeing. How do we address this in a reconciliatory way and without anybody thinking of my interests? I, can we drop the I and think of the we? And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Mike.
Fiona, you mentioned the word bylaws and suggested they had been broken or had been circumvented around or something. Can I ask you to expand on that point, please? Because I'm not aware of that.
My understanding, and this is purely my understanding, is that we had gaps. We have had gaps in the bylaws, and that is why the court had to come in and intervene. If the bylaws had covered a number of issues extensively, we probably would have been able to settle everything in-house. That is my view. I'm not saying I'm right, but it is my understanding, and I stand to be corrected.
Okay, I raise that because I'm one of the people that was working on the bylaws when we did amendments on the bylaws. And if you've got particular...
So was I.
Okay, fine. But if you've got particular points, I hope you've written them down so that one day when the bylaws are redone again, we've got your input. Thank you.
All right. Mark, don't go. I want you to tell a certain story that you and I once got experience in. You remember, I don't know which city it was, but we were in a situation like this, and I was anxious. John Postel was there, and we're ready to go with Afrinic, and I was told to go to hell. You remember that story?
That was in San Jose at a INET conference, as I remember. And that, I'm going to get myself in trouble.
No. Just say the usual, you know. I think it's worth people understanding that shared objectives are sort of preconditions to some of the things they are asking. And so tell the story.
I seem to remember a lot of people, and the majority of them seem to be non-English speaking people, working together and working out how they were going to be able to spend the millions and millions of dollars they're going to make from this thing called Afrinic. And they were very excited about it. And I remember you being very unhappy and sad about this whole process as well. If that's what you're referring to, yes.
Yes, please. It's about shared goals. Yeah,
yes, yes, sharing goals, yes. And I think that's where we first met.
Thank you very much. I guess I've eaten into the next program, but I tell you the following. The voluntary adoption of the resources that we coordinate is a big responsibility we have, okay? And we should really protect it, defend it, and probably that's about all I can say. But I'd like to invite Lucky, if you can come here momentarily, and we'll try and tell a different story. Come. Yes. Can you invite somebody else to join the story?
Yeah. Who in this house is from Tanzania and Zimbabwe? Nobody from Tanzania. Oh gosh, nobody from our neighboring country, Zimbabwe. Okay.
We will try.
I guess it leaves the Black Star and the Springbok.
The Springbok. Yeah. Okay, we'll do our best. We are from different countries, but we sing the same song differently.
Yeah, indeed. Jerry will listen to. Kosi sigeleli Afrika, malo phakanyiswe phondo lwayo, izwa imithandazo yethu, Kosi sikelela thina losapho lwayo. Written by Sontongo, many years ago, adopted as a national anthem of South Africa.
We sing it in Ghana.
It's sung in Tanzania and in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. A moment of unity.
Yes. Please, next session.
Let's give them another round of applause because they were able to decorticate issues, and I hope from here things will go better. The next presentation is coming from Alain.